Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Magpie Circle podcast, a winning edition. Martin Paterson, the biggest victory of his tenure, 4-0. Everyone's happy. I wonder what the people who I was with at Gillingham, who then promised not to waste their time going to watch Notts County anymore this season, if that was the fare that they were going to serve up, I wonder what everybody's thinking now. I'm sure there will not be a spare seat in the away end at Crewe, even at £28 and a 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. What did you make of Saturday's victory? I think everyone was very happy. If you're Scott Robertson, it couldn't be much better, could it? First 90 minutes for 11 months. I guess if you're Tyrese Hall, 2 goals, your first 2 goals in senior football, it was pretty good. And as we say, Martin Paterson, the biggest win in his tenure. Doom and gloom 1 week. Everything in the garden is now rosy.
Well, yeah, possibly. You know me not to get overreacted, but it was a lot. It looks a lot brighter, doesn't it? Amazing what one good performance and 1 win does. So hopefully everyone's in a better mood and everyone's a little bit more positive this week.
Yes, indeed. Let's just dive in because people have been leaving messages since. I think Paul Mantle was the first at 5:08. Evening all, evening Paul. I'm in sunny Turkey, a bit early, but we are 2 hours ahead, lol. A few weeks ago, we was all moaning about recruitment, but it looks like it's all coming together now. Always had faith, with a little kind of sarcastic emoji alongside it. Sean Welsh. Evening, Sean. What a game we had versus Crawley. Where's all the negative talk now? We talk about judging the situation after 10 games. Well, Stell says that, and then we all piggyback that, don't we? We say after 10 games we can make a proper judgment. Well, 9 gone and things looking not bad at all, in sharp comparison to after 8, of course, Sean. Pythagorean, Jody moving back to the wing. We look so much better balanced as a team. Andrew Munro, best we've played since Luke Williams was here. Looks like we have our identity back. Jonathan Hammock's got to keep Jody on the left, got to keep Robertson fit. And isn't confidence a wonderful thing? Obviously feeling a lot better now. Crewe are there to be beaten next week. Elliot Nesh, Crawley lacked a bit of bite, but how reassuring was it that we can net 4 goals with our top scorer out? Be interesting to see who's up front on Saturday, says Royston. Richard Elvian, amazing how the mood lifts with an emphatic win. Will it hold if things don't go our way Saturday? Jurgen Halligan, he's guessing Dennis for Grant. We'll discuss whether you should keep a winning team after a 4-0 win. Jurgen, proof of the pudding, adds Jurgen, will be when we play a top 7 side. Richard Elvian, is Dennis fit? Hard to decide on Luca. Or Tyrese, he's put goal, I think he means Tyrese Hall, to start, or keep it the same as Saturday. News on Angus MacDonald. Yes, that is a real name, Stell. Yes, yep. Centre half. Highly rated by one of your old teammates, Kevin Nicholson, who had him down at Exeter last year. He was at the game, been training, I believe. We're obviously almost all in because we've bought him a Notts County tracksuit, so don't give them away too much. And he was spotted in the crowd in his Notts County tracksuit on Saturday. He's a free agent, having been released by Exeter at the end of last season. About 300 games under his belt, played well for Aberdeen in the Scottish Prem not too long ago. Nothing announced yet, though. Richard Terry, greetings from somewhere I can't pronounce, Cappadocia. No idea where that is. Arrived on Saturday to the news that we'd won 4-0, made my trip even better. Fingers crossed for Crewe. Before I forget, I was having a Costa coffee, as I do still. As you know, I like me Costa.
Yeah.
And this gentleman came up to me this afternoon and he says, "Are you Paul?" "Yes." He said, "I'm Andy." He said, "I listened to your show." "Oh, thank you very much." He says, "I listened to it from Chicago." I says, "Oh, right." And he's an exiled pie. Works in Chicago for about 48 weeks of the year. Landed just after Saturday, so couldn't go Saturday, and he's going back home to Chicago before Crewe. So he's not timed his visit too well there, has he? But we are here, there, and everywhere. Evening from Ray Newton. What a great result for us at the weekend. Jonathan Hammocks again just wondered on your opinions on whether there is an outstanding team in the division this season. Walsall looked pretty good. MK Don stuttering. What do we think? We'll pick that up with Stell in a minute. Sam Draper, great result and performance. It shows that we can still play one up top with two creative tens and score goals. It's a head scratcher for Pato now. Best 90 minutes of the season so far. Start with the same team. Ray Newton, oh dear, he's not looking forward to Saturday's game. 12:30 kickoff. We don't do well playing at that time, especially in front of the cameras. Other than that, Ray's having a wonderful time. Ian Haywood, Stephen Newton, evening. No further news yet, as we are aware, in response to Ray Newton's question. Crewe always difficult for us, says Tim Watchorn. They have an extra man and he has a whistle. Need to play Luca and Hall from the start on Saturday, says Ray Newton, who adds Luca up front with Jatta and Hall with Robertson and Palmer in the middle. Gazzalee, amazing how much quicker we looked when Grant and Jones went off. We went into attack on the break, break mode with Luca, Jatta and Hall. With the newfound pace, we will destroy many teams. For me, Palmer was a colossus in midfield, pushed Robbo for man of the match. We'll come back to a few more. I'm up to about 7 o'clock now. There's plenty more. We'll get them read out. Look, so many positives to take from Saturday still. Scott Robertson, tough time for him. Any professional footballer will tell you what's the worst thing that can happen: being injured. So in some respects, his performance, I see him in the gym a bit, his performance wasn't a surprise to me because he's a quality player, and ultimately he's with us largely because I guess he hasn't been able to play 30 to 40 games a season. How much good, aside from playing well, will it have done him to get not just 60 or 70, but 90 under the belt as well? Because I was interested that the head coach didn't bring him off. I thought that was quite interesting. We'll talk about minutes in legs, don't we? But he played in the full 90.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this head coach is maybe not one of them that adheres to this minutes in managing minutes quite as much as with previous regime, shall we say. But yeah, really pleased for Scott Robertson. It was a fantastic team performance Saturday. That's one thing to be said. But within that, you can look at individuals. And with Scott Robertson, the sort of past year that he's had, or certainly since he's come to Notts, you would say what we've seen of him, the ability, what he's got, what he provides on the pitch in terms of his combative style, all energy, good quality at times as well. That's not in question. I think he's done enough to show that he's a decent player. But you're absolutely right. When you're out for a year, when you don't play, many games, and that's nobody's fault. It just can happen like that. You always wonder, can he keep himself fit long enough? Can his body, back up his ability, if you like, and not sort of let him down. So he'll be feeling really good, really good for playing 90. Obviously, really pleased with scoring and what a good goal it was, and an important goal at an important juncture of the game. But a top performance as well. And I think as well, anybody who's out that length of time, you will have doubts, you'll have dark days. It's a long way back when you're out for anything like that length of time. I think the longest I was ever out was about 3 or 4 months with an injury, and it's tough. So to do a year is really difficult, unbelievably difficult, and to come back as he has, and I will include it right from the first minute of the AFL Trophy game at Lincoln, where I thought he was the standout performer there. I think he's shown an appetite, as you would do if you're out for a year. You're going to be hungry to get back, but he's shown an appetite, a desire, and quality, and almost more than anything, it highlights the attitude. Really, really top attitude he have. And, all credit to him. Delighted for Saturday. And now it's about stringing them games and performances together. Not just for him, but for the team as well. But from a personal note for him, I'm sure he's absolutely over the moon with the way Saturday went. And now it is just about trying to get that trust back in his body that he can do it for 20, 30, 40 games of a season.
Yeah, you talk about, it's a good phrase, trust in your body. Probably a decade or so ago and more, you would have had not necessarily that small a number of players who, by and large, weren't necessarily able to train every day of the week, were they? They would
Yeah.
nurse certain weaknesses in their body through. Historically, you'd have Paul McGrath that never trained. There was the centre half, Ledley King at Tottenham that trained literally on a Friday for half an hour. But the modern game now is such that you can't really do that anymore. There has to be such a level of fitness. Like when you see Scott and some of the other footballers that use my gym, there's not an ounce, over excess fat on their bodies now. They're all sort of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9% body fat. You've basically got to be a proper full-time athlete now. There's not really a lot of room, is there, to not be at it 5, 6, 7 days a week when it comes to the training.
Yeah, absolutely. That, that's technically the game has moved on skill wise, but I think fitness wise, with obviously science is always moving on, science is always developing, pushing forward, pushing the barriers. So there's never been more help, if you like, to keep, but absolutely the players are proper athletes now. Even back in sort of my time, you could carry, a couple of players who maybe liked to drink or didn't,
Aaron Cassidy.
didn't a couple of players who didn't like a drink, there were players that you could carry them, but they had to have ability. Don't
Yes.
get me wrong. They had to have ability and whatever, and had to be worth sort of looking after, if you like. But yeah, you're not far wrong. No, I mean, but that was manageable. I think nowadays it isn't. Nowadays you'd get found out far too easily. You'd have to be an unbelievable level of ability to even begin to, I say cut corners, but that is it. Trying to take shortcuts, trying not to do the work that's necessary. You'd struggle. You'd really struggle in the modern game because everybody's an athlete. So, yeah, like I say, it is that you have to put your trust, or you have to have trust in your body. And like I say, there's no room for, passengers. Not in the modern game.
Donny Pye, great team performance for me throughout the whole side. Sam Draper, personally, I thought having 2 10s behind Jatta worked. No need to go 2 up top at the moment, especially without Dennis. Grant or Iapenda or Hall or Luca just in behind worked great. Evening from Karen Knight and Paul Huskerson and Lippy Jane. Michael Fletcher, very good win. Should boost our confidence for the trip to Crewe. Ray Newton, Hall and Lucas seemed to energise the side when they came on with their pace. David Dawes looked better when the young lads came on. Breath of fresh air. Donny Pye must have been good. Even Martin nearly smiled at the end. I think he's doing a grand job. David Parkin, a very good evening to one and all. My hopes for a good performance on Saturday were realised. How enjoyable was it to hear 4 get-ins from Mr. Stallard? Evening from Colin Metcalf. Well, I wasn't expecting that on Saturday. Have we turned a corner? ? I'm not sure, but I'm a heck of a lot happier this Monday, that's for sure. All very positive, says Adam Kent. Need to show consistency now. Jody made a big difference on the left. Evening from John Carty and from Kay and from Graham Oates. Elliot Nash, I agree. Luca and Hall did seem to energise the side. I put Dennis in for Grant if he's fit, and then keep Luca and Hall as impact subs early the second half. Donny Pye, I was able to get to the game, so sadly couldn't listen on the radio to the 4 get-ins. Ian Cooksey, Martin seems a lot happier since Gagliardi has gone. Seems like he has got more control and freedom in his role. Hi, Paul and Stel from Robert Greensmith. No weak link Saturday. Fantastic team performance. Really hope making sure Robbo didn't come back too soon means he can hopefully stay injury free for the foreseeable. Richard Elvian, I think Martin was just relieved. We were certainly happy, wasn't he? He was having a laugh and a joke in the post-match presser. Evening from PJ Defiance, John Parr. Evening from Ibiza. Sounded great game Saturday, and I missed it. Dave Badder likes the shirt. It is a retro. Unfortunately, I could afford an original. There are a few floating around, but I certainly wouldn't fit in them. Helen Spencer. Hello and sorry for the hold up on Saturday. Adi Clark. Evening all. With a new manager and several new players, was going to take time for things to align. Best game I've seen for some time. 1 loss in 6 in the league, says Charlie Capewell. Jurgen Halligan, a dose of realism. We're playing bottom half teams, not getting too carried away yet. Richard Hawksworth from Royal Marlow. Super win on Saturday. Robbo immense. Young lads showing a promise. Adi Clark, do you think playing with one striker helped? Everyone knew their roles exactly. Jody Jones, great on the left. Macari, need to have a chat about that in a minute, was excellent. And Robbo, a class above. Must be a future Notts captain. Stephen Shepherd, great performance on Saturday, really good with the ball, but equally impressive without the ball. Got stuck in and won it back. Palmer and Robbo are a fab combo, says Essie Kent. Chris Gosling, Meadow Lane is finally a place we look comfortable in again. If you separate the home performances from away, we've had a great season. Need to replicate these performances on the road now. I'll just break off there, rest my voice. Lewis Macari, were you surprised to see him back in or not, Stal?
Not really. I thought Sonny Al-Joffrey had a couple of difficult games prior to it, so not totally surprised. No, I thought he can consider himself a bit unlucky, Lewis Macari, I think, to not be involved so far this season. But obviously, we know there are other things going off with that, the betting thing that's going on in the background. But he is available, and he has been available all season. But I thought, yeah, absolute credit to him. He came in, as I always say, it's an audition. You get a starting shirt. It's a chance to show the manager what you can do. It's a chance to put your case forward. And I thought he, along with others that came in, I thought he did it brilliantly. I thought he performed really, really well. Can be very proud of it. And again, the challenge is, we after Gillingham, the disappointment of last week, we said we're looking for a response. They've given us that in spades. Now we're looking for consistency. Can they repeat it? Can they keep it up? Is it not a flash in the pan? We certainly hope not. We're in a decent run of form, 4 wins out the last 6. So, let's hope they can keep this going. But that's the challenge now. But Lewis Macari, yeah, particularly pleased for him. I thought he did excellently well, given he's still a young lad, really, or a young man, with what's going on off the field. Could have been easily distracted, disappointed to not be playing at the start of this season under a new manager, new head coach. So when you get your chance, you have to take it. And I thought he did really, really well.
Steve Silver, evening. Let's get on an unbeaten run and reach that magic 50 points mark. Ian Cooks, interesting to see we kicked off with only 2 of the summer signings in the team. Yes, I did comment on that. And given that we had 2 goalkeepers, both new, he had to field 1 anyway. So really, there's probably only 1 in terms of the options that he was able to start with. All our glasses are half full this week, says Greza Maxwell. Richard Elvian, 50 points by Christmas, please. Dale Pikett. Notts are top of all 4 leagues. I saw this from somewhere. I love how they produce these. Notts are top of all 4 divisions with the most home goals so far this season, which is 12. Did you know that, Snell?
I did, because it was on. I think somebody put it on social media or something today. So I did know that. Yeah, whoever that is has got it from the same avenue I got it from as well. So yeah, we look. That's a great like that, aren't they? But at this stage of the season, we take that at the end of the season. But I'm not sure it means too much now. But I would say everything looks a little bit better after a good win and a good performance.
Mark Cass, same starting 11, please, against Crewe with Dennis in place of Grant. Money can buy you good players, says Colin Metcalf, but it can't guarantee you a good team. For the first time last Saturday just gone, I thought we looked like a team which is strong, fit and up for it. We need to replicate that. Dale Pikett, I think Robertson is the presence in midfield we needed to get us going forward. Great to see Bajrami playing, centre of midfield for Crawley. So, Big Meach says, happy Monday, guys. Happy Mondays. Yeah, Scott Taylor. Today was the first time in a while I had a spring in my step on a Monday morning. Andy Easom, Paul McGrath, play, rest, play, virtually no training. Yeah, I'll give you a Notts one that never trained. Paul Barnes. Had a plastic insert in his knee, couldn't train, couldn't bend his knee more than about 45, 50 degrees. And Jimmy always had him down as a golden boot player. And before anyone points out, his son is Harvey Barnes at Newcastle, his son. So football obviously runs it in the Barnes genes. Jurgen Halligan got a trophy game, Virtue Cup, I don't know, whatever it is, against Barnsley. Hopefully we will see Jarvis, Traore and Ness. James Moore remembers Darren Caskey and his athleticism. Greza Maxwell, Andy Easom, play, rest, pub, play, rest, pub. Adi Clark. I like how Paul keeps name dropping. He goes to the same gym as Robbo. Virgin Active Pal. All us athletic warriors go in there. Has he been doing my workout? No. I wish I could do his. I've got to have a new hip soon, so that's my excuse at the minute. Surely, says Gazali, there is protein in 20 Park Drive and 5 pints of mild. Dave McVeigh and Brian Stubbs used to swear by it. Evening from Paul Smales. David, Amy, welcome. Richard Elvian. Gates are still down on previous years. Hope they pick up with improved outcomes. I'm sure they will. And to be fair, we've had a run of teams that don't necessarily bring the largest away support. Bromley, Crawley, Fleetwood, not renowned for travelling in big numbers. So that is clearly going to make a big difference. James Moore, this was my first ever Not shirt, Paul, the Cyril Adidas one, a thing of beauty. Ian Hayward, Stell, have you told Adam Hassel who your new tag team partner is yet? Yeah, Adam Hassel and Matt Dennis. Crikey, both failed fitness tests on Saturday.
Yeah, I think, I said Adam had a few days in Spain. I think he'd come back with some sort of bug, picked a bug up while he was out there. So, yeah, unavailable. David Jackson stepped in brilliantly. And he's the lucky mascot. Obviously, it's amazing how it changes because Bish stood in for me for the Shrewsbury game and they obviously scored 4 then. So then it was my fault then. And now Adam's missed one. David Jackson's done 2. And we've scored 8 goals at home and, like I say, 4 each time. So yeah. Adam is suddenly the bad one, if you like. But Adam is back Saturday for the away game at Crewe. So, all being well, obviously, assuming he's back and feeling better. But, we've said to David he's welcome whenever.
Yeah, so young lad goes to Spain, just arrives back in England, has a bug. Yeah, right. Oh, okay. Yeah, recovering. Ian Cooksey, first time in a long time when we've had the minority of possession. I pointed that one out in the Sunday supplement. It shows that 80% possession isn't needed to win games. I think we had 49 and Crawley had 51, I believe, were the actual stats Saturday. Chris J. Notts nearly had to change the club nickname with Caskey here. He'd eaten all of the pies. Roos had his best game so far, says Stephen Shepherd. He didn't really have a lot to do, to be fair. Andy Easom, no jokes on that one, please. Oldham will bring a tidy following next up. They will indeed. Adi, what's your thoughts on this competitive match and referee? Good question. Martin Paterson told us about. Is it for players' mentality? Has Stell ever had anything like it in his career? Yeah, well reminded, Adi, because I was going to ask Stell about this. Just before we came on air, I mentioned this to Stell. Yeah, when I heard him talk about that, on Saturday still, my mind immediately went back to the Neil Warnock era and the likes of Tommy Johnson, Mark Draper, Dean Thomas, Craig Short would all tell you about shin pad Thursdays. When players were told to bring the shin pads in, it would be a full contact game. And just so we kind of understand it at professional level, by and large, in training, you don't whack each other, do you? It's almost non-contact. Keep the ball, move it around, that kind of thing. Yeah,
I'm not so sure, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, but Martin made the point, didn't he, that he got a proper referee in, and he kind of stressed the competitive nature of the game that they played on Tuesday, just gone, and that he would be doing it again this coming Tuesday, which again sounds a bit of a departure from previous management in terms of perhaps a more combative approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I wouldn't have ever said training was non-contact, and it was sensible. You know, a large part.
Yes.
You know, you don't go around obviously injuring teammates. But you know, there were plenty of tackles flying in. Don't worry about that. But yeah, I mean, look, you could look at it a number of ways. The reasoning after that Gillingham game, you know, it could have been lined up to happen anyway, irrespective of the Gillingham performance. It
Yeah.
could have been a bit of a result of that Gillingham performance. Right, here we go. There's places up for grabs, so we're going to have a proper game for however long we're going to play, and you know, I'll tell you all, places are up for grabs. So you show me who wants it. Go and perform again behind closed doors. Obviously, there could be a number of reasons why. You know, this week he's opted to do that, and he says he's going to carry on doing it. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It might be that he feels that training has been not quite, not quite. And again, I'm absolutely surmising as an option. I've no evidence for this at all. But it might be that he thinks just training has just not quite been at the level he wants it to in terms of competitiveness. You know, that they won 3 out of 4, didn't they? And then pulled in that Gillingham performance. So maybe he thinks, oh, is this a group that can, you know, just rest on the laurels if allowed? So now I need to just pull the rug from them. It can be just to shake things up and do something different for a period of time. I don't think, or I don't imagine he'll be doing it, you know, competitive games on a Tuesday in March and April, you know, throughout the season. So maybe it's something that will come out for spells and then it'll go back again. Again, part of man management and part of, you know, keeping your players on their toes is not being predictable as a coach and as a coaching team. Don't be predictable. The minute you become predictable, then players can become a little bit sleepy, a little bit dozy, a little bit taking it for granted, going through the motions. As you say, if training is the same week after week after week, then players can get into that routine that you come in, you know what's happening on the day, or you suspect you know. So it's a case of, well, I'll get through this and we'll do that, and then it'll be that, and it, you know, and it becomes samey, and you can, you know, you just I'm not saying you do it deliberately, but subconsciously you just start, you know, posting almost. So I think that everybody nowadays in coaching, in management, is trying to not micromanage necessarily, but trying to keep things lively, trying to do something to keep everybody on their toes, to make sure they're at it. Is the, you know, the phrase. They want everybody at it, and that's not just on a Saturday. Yes, specifically on a Saturday, but they want it in training as well, because it's not a switch. When you get, you know, at any level really, being able to play is not a switch. You can't be dozy 5 days a week and then get to a game and then just switch it on and be absolutely bang at it. So, you know, there are many means, many ways of doing it, and loads of coaches, managers will have different ways of doing it. But I think that, you know, that might be part and parcel of it. The fact that, look, we've just put in a shocker of a performance. Things were going okay. We turned a bit of a corner just before that, and maybe this is a way of feet on the ground. We ain't anything special. Don't think we can start coasting, because we can't. And then if you do that for 1 week and you get a performance on the Saturday, to then not do it the next week almost makes it look like, it's worked. So if we lose, we've just got to perform again. Then we don't do it. It becomes like a punishment thing. And that again becomes predictable.
Matthew Hoyland, good luck with the new hip, Paul. Will be a new lease of life. I had 2 done last year, and I'm only 39. Oh, crikey. They are fantastic. Yeah, I got another month yet with the existing ones I've had for the last 62 years. Could have been a back spasm he came back with, says Derek Flowers. Dale Pikett, in the last 2 home games, a grand total of 481 away fans have been in our church. I'm actually surprised it's that many, Dale. Richard Elvian Roos passing the ball out from the back, much more now. Was this a tactical board in a technical board intervention? Well, I'm not quite sure if the technical board is still in existence at the minute, but anyway. Richard Elvian, Luke Williams played 11v11 a lot. Richard Terry, talking about pies, Knots were originally called the Lambs. They were. Hence, come on, you, EWE pies. Yeah, he's obviously been saving that one up to use for a while. Someone must have told him, hey, Richard. Scott Taylor, can we all take a moment to appreciate Kel and his performance on Saturday? For the first time in a Knot shirt, for me, he looked a proper keeper, comfortable and commanded his area well. Rich Hawksworth, one of Jimmy Cyril's greatest quotes, you didn't see snooker players running around the table. I understand the great man was also in favour of 11v11 in training. It's funny, it's true this though. When everyone talks about Jimmy Cyril, you find trying to do a ridiculous Scottish accent in the same way as whenever anyone tells a Brian Clough story, everyone then breaks out into like their version of a Brian Clough accent. It's very true. Colin May. Personally, I love the sound of the full-on Tuesday training game. You don't make soldiers by sitting down and making daisy chains. There's an old phrase. Well, I've never heard it before. But Ian Cooksey, Crewe have lost 4 out of the last 5. If we're on it, we can beat them. Venom, I've paraphrased whatever gobbledygook that moniker is. Getting used to Saturday and then Tuesday games mentality, but also to help with team selections. Players will be used to playing that format for when we have it within league games. Charlie Capewell, wonder if Jatta is at the Ballon d'Or Awards tonight. I doubt it. Crewe, his agent might be, but Adam Kent, Crewe will no doubt be awarded their obligatory dodgy penalty, I'm going to say, in the 79th minute. Robert Greensmith, any top striker would have been delighted with the 2 finishes by Hall. Quality and very assured. Yeah, Tyrese Hall, Stel, inevitably comparisons were automatically drawn with George Abbott. Yeah, he's come from Spurs, all the hype, etc., that accompanies all of our new signings. And I think possibly at first, adjusting to the physical side of it has probably taken him a little bit of time. And that presumably explains why Martin has been fairly reticent with the number of minutes he gave him. Personally, I thought he brought the 2 subs on at a perfect moment for them. They're both flair, quality players, good touch. Games got to open up because the opposition are 1-0 down. And I think those 2 players with the attributes that they have were able then to take advantage of a bit more space. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I agree with you completely. Look, we all know that managers make substitutes every game. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But sometimes they come off, absolutely perfectly, almost like they did on Saturday. And all of a sudden, everybody is, well, what they need to start. That's it. That's the way forward. But that sort of does a bit of a disservice to the likes of Conor Grant and Tom Ilepender, who'd, I'm not going to say did the hard yards of the first sort of 65, 70 minutes of the game when games are more tight,
Yeah,
but when you come on,
yeah,
absolutely. But when you come on and you're 1-up in a game and the opponents away from home have got to then chase it for the last 20 minutes and they've got to take a gamble and there is space to exploit, they did it perfectly. So they came on and administered their role and did what they could do perfectly well. But does that then mean they get a start? Maybe. Now, that is down to Martin Paterson, of course, and how he sees Crewe and what have you. But, don't forget Conor Grant and Tom Ilepender played their part in the game, played in a large part. They got the cherry on the cake. They got the headlines, Tyrese Hall and Jaden Luca, with the way they come on and what they did, and they did it brilliantly. But different roles, different things. Now the challenge to them is if they do get a start, whether it's in the next game or whenever, Go and perform like that from minute one. I assure you, it's not as easy. Of course, it's not, because a game isn't open up and stretched in the first 20 minutes as it is in the last 20 minutes. So, but they did, that's not to bring them back down to earth or anything, but that's just to put a little bit of perspective on things. How many times do we see substitutes come on with 20 minutes to go and make little to no difference whatsoever? So it's an absolute, credit to them and a pat on the back that they had the influence that they did. Now, like all of them, I'm not getting too carried away. I'm really pleased to see a 90-minute performance, a really good performance. The substitutes came on and worked. We, not deliberately, but obviously by forced by injury, we leave the leading scorer out, and all of a sudden we're scoring four. So if you go by that, do we leave him out? When he's available, do we say, well, that's it, we're a better team without Matty Dennis? No. Every 90 minutes is a set of totally different circumstances, and that is where consistency comes in. Any team can have a good performance, any team can have a bad performance. We've seen it with Notts in the space of 8 days or 7 days, whatever you want to call it, in a week. From Gillingham to Crawley on Saturday was absolute night and day difference, and you wouldn't believe. I'm not going to say it's the same team because there were 4 changes, but the same squad. You couldn't believe the same squad can produce 2 so contrasting performances in terms of ability. So while ever we try and dissect every little aspect of it, and them subs did brilliantly well, and Tyrese Hall, brilliant, his first professional goals. So congratulations to him, a day he'll never forget. But now the challenge is, do it again. That's 90 minutes or 20 minutes in their case, but that doesn't get you anything. You can't rest on your laurels, as we've just been talking about. You've got to go and do it, replicate it. Consistency, that is the watchword. We always know the lower down the leagues you go, the ability is there. The consistency sometimes isn't. The better teams have that consistency. So now that's what we're looking for. We're improving in terms of form. 4 wins out the last 6, as we say, but now they've got to keep it going. Can they keep that level up? They set the bar on Saturday in terms of team performance. Can they go and do it again? You've got to keep right up there.
With that in mind, Stel, do you look to keep an unchanged starting 11? Have those 2 guys that come off the bench done enough to warrant a start, or at least to be considered for a start? And also, the which I thought was quite entertaining, Martin Paterson's description of the injury to Matty Dennis on Friday, when he said it was a minor issue, but it was preying on his mind a bit, and he wants to play, blah 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 blah, and in the end he wasn't involved in the 16. Is this the old school Clough, Cyril? It's 4-0, you automatically keep the same team, or are we more about picking teams based on opposition and those sorts of things?
Yeah, I look. I've always said I'm generally, if you win a game, you keep the same team. Now, I suppose there is a case, like, there's absolutely no question that Jaden Luca and Tyrese Hall have pushed their case to come into the starting 11. To actually get a start. So that is, they've done absolutely everything they could possibly do, really, to get a start. So I would be more minded to make a change from a winning team based on, I would need to look at what Crewe do, what they do well, what they don't do well, strengths, weaknesses. So I would be looking at the opposition and going, do you know what? Again, Connor Grant and Tom Iopender did the hard yards. The game was tight. That they played their part for, played majority of the game, 65, 70 minutes. And then we're getting a term come into the game that's come from rugby, aren't we? The finishers coming on, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a terrible, terrible term, because nobody will want to be labelled. It's like years gone by, you would label as the utility man, want you could play anywhere, but in reality, you never really got a position regularly. So it's sort of, damned with faint praise kind of thing. It's the label nobody wants. It basically, you're a sub. but we'll call you a finisher. It makes you sound more important. They want to start. That, every player wants to start. But I think I would have a look at, Crewe and see, what do we think's going to hurt them? Is it the likes of Connor Grant with his footwork, Tom Iopender's dynamic running and his strength, or and then leave the Jaden Luca and Tyrese Hall combination, if you like, for when the game is a bit more stretched, when it is a bit more open? Or do you think, do you know what? Crewe might be a little bit susceptible to a little nippy lads playing in them pockets of space and playing, and we might play on the counter attack because we're away from home and we want a bit more pace going forward. Then you might look to change one, bring one of them in, or bring both of them in. But it's a tough one. It is a tough one. I mean, try telling Tyrese Hall after he scores two in 20 minutes that you're not starting the next game. But look, that is football. But but also you've got to tell Conor Grant or Tom Iopenda probably that one of them or both of them is not going to start. Yeah, they'll go, hold on a minute, I started the last game, we won 4-0. Why am I dropped? So um, yeah, unless you're managing minutes, of course, which is when that phrase gets wielded out. But it's a tricky one. It is a tough one, and it would genuinely go down to what I thought the weaknesses of Crewe were.
Okay. Wayne Wilkins, Paul, have you got the balloons and fireworks sorted yet? No, it's something to do with my, like you said, updated settings on my Mac, and I've not had a chance to get very, very, very belated birthday balloons for Adi. He'll be another year older by the time I get it sorted. Last 2 years, says Stephen Moore at Crewe, we have lost to scandalous decisions. Let's hope history doesn't repeat itself. Greza, we learned on one of our shows over the weekend, Stel, I mentioned that you'll have probably heard this. Freddie Mercury, his mum and his sister lived in Nottingham for decades. Lived in Macari Top, nice part of Nottingham on the east side. And Greza came back with he'd fitted a floor for them 40 years ago. There you go. So Greza now is after another one of my shirts. I'll swap you what you're wearing, Paul, for my iconic 80s, 90s puppets, Sooty and Sweep. Bloody, I remember them. What was the panda called? Sue the panda.
Sue the panda.
Rose Sue the panda in Greza, you might have a deal, okay? I'm desperate to get them off my hands. And a box of broken biscuits off Donington Market. A.D. Clark, Rod McDonald deserves a mention. Was possibly a squad player at the start of the season, but he's playing every minute and not put a foot wrong. Charlie Capewell, Luca, hat-trick of assists in 20 minutes. Zedo, Rod the Wall McDonald, also doing most of the organising at the back, perhaps a leader we have lacked. Richard Elvin, don't forget Crawley were pushing to score and left gaps at the back, which we exploited. Yeah, absolutely. Thought Iopenda and Grant played well before going off, said Chris Gosling. No update on the injuries at Paul with regards Matty Dennis and where he is at the minute. Give Stallard the director of football job, says Greza. Martin Shipley, we shouldn't overlook that Tyrese Hall played the ball out from our box, then ran 80 yards to receive the ball back to score his first goal. I thought Kuyar looked lively in his cameo appearance, says Chris Gosling. Adam Kent, I thought Jatta has made a big statement of intent with his first goal on Saturday. He was determined that one was going in. He did whack it, didn't he? He didn't half belt that one, I have to say. I think Saturday will be a 1-0, says PJ Defiance, doesn't specify which way round. I'd like to see more of Kuyar, says Adam Kent, and agreed with by Essie Kent. Paul Mantle, Jatta goal was not an easy one, but took it well. He will win our golden boot, even if he goes in January. Well, he's going to have to bang a few in before January then, isn't he? Chasing down Matty Dennis. Keith Cook, yes, I thought that Iopenda and Grant played really well and disappointed that they got subbed. But then what do I know? Grant is our Marmite type of player, says Essie Kent. I like him, always gets the ball to the box. Andy Easom, not forgetting Ramsbottom the Snake in Sooty. I can't remember that. Still, can you?
No, that's a new one on my note. I don't remember that.
Well, I don't know what you were doing in your childhood. I cannot remember Ramsbottom the Snake in Sooty and Sweep. Who was the owner, or it was a father and a son? Corbett, wasn't it?
Matthew Corbett, wasn't it? Matthew Corbett and not Ronnie, obviously. Was it Matthew? Was it? But they're both Matthew. I forget the. I don't know.
Matthew Corbett, but Ramsbottom the Snake, absolutely can't remember that one at all. Mark Cass. Grant's work rate and work out of possession is brilliant, but seems to lack confidence at times in front of goal. Greza Maxwell. Pipkins. I remember that from somewhere or other. Harry Corbett. Was it Harry Corbett?
Harry, that's it. Harry, and Matthew was his
dear.
son, I think. Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
We
dear.
found our intellectual level and something we do know about. Finally, it's children's TV from the 80s and 90s.
I'll tell you what I used to like. The Clangers. Do you remember them?
Oh, now you're before my time. Yeah,
in the soup kitchen. The Clangers.
I've dropped a few, but no, I don't remember the TV program.
God dear. Camberwick Green, you wouldn't remember that either. Windy Miller. Bloody hell.
Trumpton was my favourite. If we're getting onto that, but come on, let's move it on.
Greza Maxwell, Bagpuss. Harry H. Corbett. I was getting confused. Steptoe and Son. Steptoe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Zedo's come in with the Super Dragon as well. Yes, all our yesteryear. Anyone under the age of 50 thinks, what on earth are these lunatics going on about at this moment in time? Right, Stel. If I was going to say the most surprising thing, and there's a lot of things happened Saturday, the most surprising thing, because clearly we couldn't control everybody else's results. Could you have envisaged in a million years that come 5 o'clock on Saturday, we're in the playoff positions?
Well, not really, but I must admit I've not really paid close attention to the league table, as I don't do early on in the season. It's I don't just trot that out. I really don't pay that much attention, but it does change, doesn't it? 3 points at this stage of the season makes a massive difference to the league table. So you always get false positions. Crewe, Saturday, I think they won the first 4 games, didn't they? They lost 4 out of the last 5, so they were flying at the start of the season. Now they'll be mid-table, won't they? Now, or something like that. So look, things are always exaggerated early on in the season because things change around. That's why I always say, we always say 10, 12, 15 games is, that's when you've got a fairly decent idea of where teams may or may not finish. So look, it doesn't mean that we're in the top 7, but it's nice to be up there, isn't it? It's nice to get a win and a decent performance for 90 minutes. I say decent, a really good performance, really strong. Dominant was the word Martin used, and he was absolutely right with it. Absolutely dominant performance. But again, we'll keep our feet on the floor because we know what happened 1 week before that. So the sign is there that they can be a good team. Can they be a consistently good team? That's the challenge. But that's the challenge to 23 other teams in League Two and in every other division. Can you be consistently good? It's all right producing it now and again. You've got to do it consistently if you want to achieve. And that's what Notts want. They want promotion this season. So, look, got to take it into Crewe. Got to get on another run. The performances have been on an upward. No, sorry, not the performances. The results have been on an upward trajectory in general. Real slow start to the season, but improving. So they've got to keep that going because, like I say, still a long way to go. There'll be twists and turns, but Saturday was hopefully the performance that gives everyone real belief.
I'm just amazed at the flux powers of recall of children's programs, and I don't know whether people will be able to see this. I've just been sent a photograph of Sooty with Ramsbottom the snake. I don't know whether you can see that, everyone. Hang on, I'm just trying to get that. There is Sooty and Ramsbottom the snake. Just shows you what a life Andy Eason must lead to be able to produce those. Graham Oates was a wooden tops man. Richard Elvian, a magic roundabout. Florence Ermintrude the cow, was it? Or something like that. Jurgen Halligan. Ramsbottom was a snake known for his thick Yorkshire accent who was featured in later series after the original run and was obviously I'd stopped watching it after the original run, you see, and was often involved in mischief with other characters like Butch the dog. Jurgen, you need to get out more, pal. You need to get out more.
There's a whole different podcast in this, isn't there? A sort of spin-off. Somebody else can do that one. Dear me.
Dear Stell, can you name the Trumpton Fire
Oh,
Brigade?
Kew, Barney McGrew, Cuthbert, Dibble, and Grub. Of course it is.
I could just about remember Cuthbert and Dibble, but I couldn't. Well done. There you go, Steve. Did you expect Stell to know that one? Top of the class.
I told you, people have finally found my intellectual level here.
Dougal from Magic Roundabout. Here's one for you. You should get this because I do. I was a bit old to be watching it, but I probably saw it coming out doing my A levels. And the theme, it's the theme tune. You know this, Stell. Theme tune that's played every time a team in the Football League score a goal. The theme tune to this cartoon is played every time they score a goal at home.
No idea.
Right, hang on. Let's see who's first. Ray Newton. Well, he said either the engine. I don't know whether he's answering the question or just one of his favourite. Come on. No one's got it yet. They played it. They played it, sadly, twice against us last year at their place.
No, you're going to have to tell me because I've no absolutely. But bear in mind, at every ground I've got my headphones on, so I can't always hear the music like that.
Andy Easom has sent it twice, and he's clearly Andy, having sent me Ramsbottom the snake pictures, is a bit of a cotter. He's quite right. Captain Pugwash.
Oh,
Fleetwood.
right, yeah.
Diddly dee, diddly dee, diddy, 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 diddy,
yeah.
You remember that? Oh, dear me. Tickles me that one.
Was that Roger the Cabin Boy? Was that the one that... that's why it doesn't get repeated. Was it that Roger the Cabin Boy or something like that? Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going off on a tangent here.
Julie Howe, who's probably watched this show for 4.5 years, never volunteered a single comment, has now waded in Captain Pugwash.
Hey, we've never been more interested. We've never been more interested than these last 10 minutes.
Oh, dear me. Makes me smile. I'm just reading through. Yeah, theme tunes, Z Cars, Everton's. There's more TV, and obviously Morecambe, isn't there? Bring Me Sunshine. You know, there's quite a lot of the old TV ones. But that, as far as I'm aware, is the only cartoon one, Captain Pugwash. What else? Black and white TV series, Jurgen Halligan. What have we got? Bagpuss and Mr. Ben, says Ian McQuillan. Never liked them much, to be honest. Never liked them much. Right. And this is the last one. Okay. Obviously, far more. And I'm too sharp to read out Ian Cooksey and James Moore's responses. Yeah, you would have got me a few weeks ago, but I've known not to trust some of the names you send now. Andrew Rayson, Andy Pandy, for me before I was born. Anyway, right, look, we'll kill that one. Oh, Hector's House, bloody hell, fire. The Herbs, Parsley the Lion. Who remembers that one? Right, that's it. I'm done now. I'm done. I'll try not to remember anymore. Crewe, Saturday stuff. As happy hunting grounds go, it's about number 100 out of 100, isn't it? It's an horrible place for an away fan. I tell you, it's a disgrace. I don't know how to get a safety certificate. They charge you more than any other ground. And we seem to have a few issues with referees. Other than that, and we get beat. Other than that, it's a great day out.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we owe them, don't we? I think that is the understatement of the day. We've been hard done to there with a couple of decisions in recent years, of course, as everyone will know. So, but we go into this as we are absolutely clearly the form team, aren't we? Out of the two, the starts to the season and where we are currently couldn't be any more different over the space of 9 games. As I say, they won their first 4, and now they've lost 4 out of the last 5. So maybe not a bad time to be playing them, but also makes it difficult to analyse them too much because Lee Bell, their manager, might well be making changes. You don't know what you're going to do when you've lost 4 out of 5. So, it's a good time to play them. That is one thing to say. Yes, you need officials that can, handle the atmosphere, but can give decent decisions, not do you in the game. But you need to take on from the performance. Not They won't be worried about the opposition too much. They'll want to know what they're going to do, how they can hurt them. But if not, perform. And I think one thing we haven't mentioned is, yes, it was far better, but I thought the pressing high up, yes, Crawley invited that press by playing,
Mm.
at the back and giving us a chance. But, I thought the pressing, the amount of times we took the ball off them inside their half, that is absolutely vital to keeping yourself on the front foot, keeping yourself on top of teams, feeling like you're swarming all over teams, that they're drowning because they can't get out. It's happened in recent years. Teams have done it to Notts when we tried to play out from the back. But I thought Notts were excellent, and I thought that the third goal, particularly Matt Palmer, they've got the ball in their left back position. Matt Palmer goes flying in. We're 2-0 up at the time. 15 minutes or so to go, so he could have just opted to everybody keep behind the ball, we'll sit back. But no, he goes and wins a tackle, and he's got 2 and 3 teammates around him, all going, and the ball gets played through to Jatta, and an unbelievable finish for that third goal. That just typifies that mentality of get on the front foot, and when it happens and it's done well, then it's hard to play against for any team. So that's what they've got to try and replicate. Again, that's something that a technicality, if you like, way with a team, not just one pressing or 2 pressing. It's hunting packs, 4s, 5s, everybody going together and not leaving space in behind if you don't win the ball. So, yeah, I thought that was impressive on Saturday throughout the game. But I thought that third goal sort of typified that particularly. So go and do that away from home, because that's what you have to do. It's the ugly side of football, if you like. It's the hard bit, playing without the ball, but you do it with the idea of going and getting the ball back. Go and get the ball back, and then you can play with it, and it's more enjoyable that way. But yeah, credit to them for that. Can they keep it up now? Can they keep it going?
Other than alignment between recruitment on recruitment, identity is a word that's been bandied around a lot. Is that kind of what you think is what Martin Paterson is aspiring to in terms of the balance between playing the ball, competing, high press? I mean, he himself said it was the most dominant performance he'd had under his reign so far.
Yeah, I mean, dominant, I think, is absolutely the right word for Saturday. I know I've described the previous games. I think the word I would say is workmanlike.
Mm.
The difference, you can take that how you want, but I've not the attitude, the work rate is there. That's not questioned. Martin wants them to be a high pressing, hard working, fit team that can swarm all over, that can run all over teams for 90 minutes. Never let up, never let up. Some weeks you'll get 4 goals like you did Saturday. We'll be clinical in front of goal. We'll take our chances. Other weeks it might take to the 94th minute to get that 1 goal, but you've got to keep pressing. You've got to keep doing it. You've got to keep doing it. That's the nature of football. That is the nature of it. You've got to keep doing it. You don't get rewards every time you do something good, but if you do it often enough, you will eventually get your reward. And I think that's what he wants. And the difference being, obviously, between workmanlike and quality, like we saw, we're going to say about their performance on Saturday, where they scored 4 goals, is workmanlike, go and get the ball back, but then purpose. What's he say? Possession with
Possession.
purpose. Go and get possession, and then possession with purpose, which means making the opposition defend their box, making them ask questions, make the keeper make saves, make the centre halves have to head it and tackle and put in blocks, put their bodies on the line and so forth. Don't just get the ball back to go, oh, we look good, we've got the ball, we'll go back, we'll go sideways, we'll go forward, we'll go back again, we'll go back across the pitch. That's not achieving anything. That is just workmanlike. That's the double-edged sword that the utopia that you try and get to. Hard working, high pressing, if you like. But you don't have to be high pressing if it warrants a low block, as they call it now, or sitting deeper, so be it. But then spring on the counter attack, whichever way you're going to do it. But that's still hard work. Whichever way you do it, you've got to do the hard, ugly side of the game first to go and get you the ball back. Because teams are that good technically nowadays that if you don't press, if you're a bit reactive, if you're not really in their face, if you go through the motions, they'll keep the ball all day. Whether they hurt you or not, again, that's down to what they do with the quality of the ball, just like when we have it. But on Saturday, we had that purpose, we had that end product. And when it all comes together, it looks fantastic. So now, I say, that's set the template, if you like, and it's certainly set the bar in terms of performance levels. Now they've got to keep trying to nudge that bar higher week after week.
If you're looking for good omens and happy memories of Crewe, Robert Greensmith and PJ Defiance have been recalling one. Playoff first leg game, drew 2-2 in the end. Steve Finnan, there's a name, scored in that first game. PJ Defiance recalls Steve Finnan on the right wing, Peter Kennedy. Yeah, he was a stylish left footer on the left, wasn't he? Gary Martindale scored the winner at home, recalls Jurgen. I can remember, I'm trying to think when it would be. Would it be about 10, 11 years ago? Johan Arkin scored. Was it first game of the season at Crewe, Red Hot Day? I think we won. Did we win 2 or 3-1 or something? We have won, but you're having to go back a good 10 years, so we're overdue something. I think that's about it now. I'm resisting the temptation to go down any more cartoon memories. We've done that to death, I think. What I would say is Radi Avramovic back on Friday, October the 24th at the Navigation. Tickets are flying out. We've done over 150 now. There ain't got that much more space, so please, I've seen a lot of the regulars' names. There's a few still missing, so make sure you get in and get those tickets bought up. It does look like it's going to be a full house. We've actually got best part of 5 weeks to go yet, but as I say, going very, very quickly. Thank you to Martin Kelk for being the main event sponsor of that. I spoke with Raddy yesterday. He was checking on dress code. I said, if it's cold, bring your thermals. Those of you at the first one or the one in winter for Martin Allen, but I'm sure it won't be that cold, so we'll be fine. And we're starting a little bit earlier this time. So you should all know the links from the socials. Dive in and get those tickets. Thanks as always to our official partners, the Big Shed at the Trent Navigation, and to JH Accountants. Stel, thank you as always. And a shortish trip to Crewe on Saturday with, let's remind everyone, an early kickoff, 12:30.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, pleasure, Paul, as ever. Yeah, it's been a better weekend, hasn't it, for everybody? It's amazing how quickly football can change, but we hope it stays the same now. Good performance at the weekend, and everyone have a good week and a safe trip to Crewe.
Thank you, Stel, as always. Thank you, one and all. Thank you for all the cartoons. Jurgen's now going to binge watch his 1960s and 70s cartoon collection. Andy Eason probably as well. Ramsbottom the Snake. There you go. That's probably the first time Ramsbottom the Snake has been mentioned in 30 years. But anyway, very good. Thank you, as always. See you Friday night for the Friday Night Magpie Live. And then we're off to Crewe. Don't forget, it's an early start. If you're going on the train, knowing East Midlands trains, Richard Stanton, all that mob, it will be 2 coaches with 500 people trying to get on it. So do give yourself plenty of time to get to Crewe. It is a direct train, but I suspect it might be a tad busy. So give yourself plenty of time. Get maybe one a little bit earlier rather than the one that gets you to the ground half an hour before kickoff. That's it from all of us tonight. Thank you very much indeed. Speak to you soon. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.
Cheers.